right, fam. It is so exciting to be here in space with you today. Right now, it's Mother's Day. So I want to absolutely extend incredible offering of love and light to all the moms, the mamas, however you identify, grandma, grandma, aunties. We just want to send you so much love and so much light. Thank you so much for doing the incredible hard work to ensure so many of us continue to be strong in mind, body, and spirit. We absolutely would not be here without you. I am Craig Aarons Martin, educator, advocate, and curator of Courageous Conversations. I'm an angelic troublemaker from time to time in this space for ones who refuse to shrink. You'll get a little bit of Beyonce's Freedom and Kendrick Lamar's Fire. Kind of meets the classroom, the boardroom, the corner store in all the ways that make sense. We hope you are ready and let's lead out loud. This is Brave Education, Brave Voices in Education. Let's go. So today's guest is someone who doesn't just talk about mindfulness, she embodies it. Minnassa Gabon is not just a speaker, she's a presence, a mindfulness expert, spiritual leader, and transformational coach whose work calls people back to themselves in a world constantly pulling away. As the founder and CEO of Minnassa Wellness, she's built a space and a movement rooted in the belief that healing isn't optional for leaders and that self-awareness is strategy. Through dynamic keynotes, soul-centered workshops, and high-impact coaching, Minnassa equips leaders and organizations to lead with intention, protect their peace, and build cultures rooted in balance, clarity, and truth. What makes Minnassa's work different? She doesn't leave the sacred at the door. She brings it with her into boardrooms, classrooms, and coaching sessions, reminding us that breath is a birthright, that stillness is a superpower, and that leadership at its core is about how we show up when no one's clapping. Reverend Minnassa, welcome to Brave Voices in Education. Tell the people how you became the incredible Reverend Minnassa Gabon that we get to experience today.
Wow. Well, that would be like a 5-hour show, so I won't take you all there. But my journey was really, I would look on it now and say it's been a journey of unlearning. That how I became the person I am today is unlearning other people's perceptions of me, other people's valuations of me, other people's expectations of me. And I had to reconnect with those things that were true about myself. So my journey is a lot about letting go.
Okay. That is quite the life lesson. Could you share a little bit more context about how did you arrive at letting go? Can you share an interesting insight or what actually transpired in your life that you got to that pivot point and said, you know what, I am going to let go?
Well, it's very interesting. I am an ordained minister. I was ordained in a traditional Methodist denomination, something I'd worked real hard, went to seminary, went through what I call their hazing process to get ordained, which you probably know something about,
A little bit.
and had a church and was there. And I thought, this isn't me, not the way that things were going. And I thought, I got to go. And so literally left my church, left the keys, cleaned up my office, and left the keys to the desk, that I had on the desk, and walked out. So very different from me because I miss responsibility, miss you can depend on. And at that point, I thought I've spent so much of my time doing what other people wanted me to do. I didn't even know what I wanted to do.
Mm.
And I was so from being in that system so dissuaded from this isn't what I believe spiritually, but I didn't have a word for it. And so I walked away. So like at 45 with a college BA, an MA or MDiv, I'm back with my tail between my legs at my mother's house.
Mhm.
Right. I thought, how can this be? So for me, my safe space has always been the bookstore, the library. Thank you to my mother, Donna Johnson, and happy Mother's Day to her. And so I was at a bookstore where I felt safe. And I saw the new thought, new age section. I'm like, stay away from that section. You know, that's a
Wow.
right? Because that's how I was. But I went over there, and eventually I found several of their books had this phrase in it, and it caught me. As a person thinks in their heart, so they are. And I thought, huh, right from the wisdom book of the Bible,
Mhm,
as you think in your heart. And I thought, well, what's in my heart? What do I believe? What do I think? What are my thoughts? And that's that whole process where I had to sort of let go of this junk that was all in there and begin to say, what do I really want to think about? What matters to me? And then, so now it's full circle. So I'm back to being a minister again in a non-traditional church, but that was always my desire to serve, to help. I wanted to be a doctor or an attorney. I hated all my pre-law classes. I don't like blood, vomit, or pee. So that eliminated me from you. And so here I am doing all those things in a many way. But yeah, I had to let go of what everyone thought I should do, of all the things I did to please other people.
mhm.
To people's disappointments, to people's judgment. Oh, you went and got that MDiv and now look what you did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's an interesting experience watching my husband go through this process as well of unlearning as he was going through his divinity, same thing, MDiv over at Boston University. A lot of what we have been socialized to believe in very faith traditions about how we should move, how we identify or not identify, because there's always folks who are creating a judgment zone of like, here are the ways that you're showing up that may or may not be part of what God wants for us or how we should show up. But I find that you actually said something that was pretty powerful. And I don't know if this was one of your sermons or whether or not this was one of your talks, but you say living, moving, and having my being in alignment with my highest principles on the strongest foundation is love. And
Indeed.
so
Yes.
and I would love for you to lean in and how do you connect this to the incredible weight you may feel where people are projecting like this is how you should show up as a reverend, as someone who has an MDiv, as a speaker, as a woman, as a black woman, as a grandmother. They have all these projections, but how has that shaped who you are, how you lead, and also how you help people to course correct their own journey and make sure that they love themselves as they walk it?
Wow. So not a grandmother yet, but my
So
daughters, we're getting there. So that's a lot of information. So one of the things is this is about checking in with yourself.
mhm,
I would say I had no idea that I was not in alignment with what was true to me because I never took the time. And that, yes, I'm a Virgo and I'm the oldest child and I'm a type A personality. So all of those things mean I know how to succeed. I know how to present. I know how to do all those things.
mhm,
But the beauty of mindfulness is who are you when you are by yourself? Who are you when you're in that sacred space? That sacred place of the Most High. When you're in that space, who are you? And then when you leave that space, are you I do this at the center all the time. Are you in alignment with those things? And I wasn't. I was somebody, this public, very public person. And then in private, I was in turmoil.
mm,
I didn't know how to talk about it because, of course, how can you miss popular? How can you miss have it all together? How can you be in turmoil? Well, because I never got a chance to find myself. And so to me, the very simple tool of taking time to be still, which is so un-American, right?
yes,
Americans about doing, getting stuff done, hustling, grinding. But see, for a leader has to be, in my opinion, has to be still. You have to
yes,
connect with the true essence of yourself because all day people are defining you. But when I act, am I in alignment with what matters most to me? And is that love?
mm,
Right? And love can be tough. I mean, as a teacher, even as a minister, which I'm still a teacher, just in a, not an educational system.
mhm,
Sometimes that love is, I wish you had talked to me about that first.
yeah,
Or I get it that this is important to you, but we have everyone else to think about. That's still a voice of love. And the most powerful love word is no, right? Especially at school, one of the things that I have learned in being in many corporate areas is that there's that one employee that you can rely on. Say, can you do this? No. Can you? Yes. So you stop asking everyone else and you go to that person.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up doing 40 things in addition to the stuff they're supposed to do. And then one day you get a call from that person's spouse or child that they're in the hospital. And, because they didn't know how to say no. Well, aren't you a team player? I am.
Mm.
But I'm still going to say no because I'm on my team, number one. So when people talk about self-care, or especially when you're talking with women, I'll tell this to you, Craig. So I did a woman's retreat, and I'll say, here's a piece of paper. Think of a woman that inspires you, that you're honored by. It could be your mother, some real person, or someone in a book. Write down 1 through 10 and 10 things about this person. Oh my Lord, they're complaining. Just 10? Can I do 15 or 20? I said, we're not trying to be here all day. So if you can say, now turn that paper over and write your name at the top and write down 10 things that you admired about yourself. Or 10? I can barely get 1 or 2. So how come some other person you can write 10 things about, but you don't have 10 good things to say about yourself, 10 things that you find yourself inspirational, right? Because we're not taught to value ourselves. That is the real aspect. You talk about leadership and mindfulness. It's knowing your value. When you value yourself, you'll say no, because I'm not getting a heart attack today.
Okay.
Or I'm not going to jail today, right?
Hey, it's a word. Not going to jail today, huh?
That's right. But that power of self-worth, that's the love that's transformative. And when you come from that place, then you're able to bring your light and act. That's alignment. I'm in alignment with my own self-love, my self-care, my self-value. Then I can value you. If I don't know my own worth, how can I really say, oh, you're like a great person?
It's a very brave act to actualize your worth in the environment we're in. I would say, here from the state's perspective, maybe globally people have a different way that they're embracing this. I'm curious how you wear and live brave in your work and in your walk.
I had to not care anymore. Well, in some ways, like, if I had my way, please don't judge me, all right? But I'd leave the house with my bond on. I'd wear sweats and a tweed t-shirt every day. To me, that should be everyone's uniform, right? But I
Okay.
know that while that could be my true self, there's just not a way to go out. A woman of my age. But there came a place to where I didn't care. So my attritional training was you need to wear a black suit or a dark blue suit. I'm like, well, how come the Church of God in Christ ministers get to wear purple and hot pink and yellow? Right? What is going on here? Right? So again, there's a book called Power versus Force by Dr. Hawkins. And in this book, he has what's called the map of consciousness. And in this, it's where your consciousness at. And there's a point, number 200, courage. That's how I became brave. I had to be courageous about myself. I had to be courageous about my voice. I had to be courageous about what mattered to me. So here I was at 50 years old, crying on the phone to my mother. Why? Because my friend, in quotey fingers, was really a woman that I was in love with. So here I've had a child out of wedlock and then got married and now, but I had to be courageous to speak my truth. That's how I live brave.
Mm.
Right? I love this woman. I don't know what happened. I just love her. And I've been telling you she's my friend, but she's not. And I think my mom's like, yeah, I already figured that out. But at 50 years old, in tears. Why? I didn't want my mom to reject me, but I was ready. Right? Courageous to live out loud. Brave is to be courageous.
Mhm.
I think about young girls like Malala and Greta. As kids are like, Malala's like, listen, I think girls should be able to go to school. This is ridiculous. We should be able to go to school, and it's like, right? People try to kill her for saying something so simple. Speak your truth. That's courageous. That's how you be brave. You speak truth to power from a place of power.
Okay. For those who are trying to find their voice or find their power, they're I think folks are leaned in. I know I'm leaned in. I'm like, oh, got a peek behind the shades. We're like, she just said what she said. You're like, yes, I did. I said what I said. So for those who are looking for, they're right now at the crossroads. This could be, your story resonates with them about being in love with someone, and whether or not it's unrequited love or something where they're really trying to find courage in being all of themselves. Has helped you in order to be where you are today? Or what would you offer to them as something you're learning or unlearning about the way that the world has shaped how we should walk in this?
Wow. You know, let me begin almost apologetically. I didn't even say thank you to the teachers.
Hmm.
I was like, oh my God, we used to be so horrible to substitute teachers. And I remember we had this one teacher in Reflect, and I told my friends, she was in perimenopause. This is what we were making fun of her. We're all experiencing this same thing now, hot flashes, brain fog. So I
Yeah.
want to thank every teacher from kindergarten to post grad to Sunday school to those who were teachers in corporate areas. Thank you. I
Yes.
just want thank you.
Yes.
And so I would say here are the tools. One is community.
Mhm.
Isolation kills. We've got to be a part of a community. That's how, look at animals, right? As humans, we think we're so evolved. And so I live in my house by myself, on my street, on my computer. Okay. And then suicide rates and anxiety rates and blood pressure rates are through the roof. Why?
Mm,
Because we're not supposed to be by ourselves.
mm,
So, community, people who reflect the values back to you that matter to you. Isolation, and I know for single parents or for parents, I understand what I'm saying is a hard thing, but there are so many groups. Like there's a lady in my church, she wants to play some game called euchre. I don't even know what it is. But yes, if you want to play euchre, find your euchre group, find your bingo group, find your crochet group, your knitting group, your food group. Unity. For me, my magic tool for people is to, and I don't like teachers. I'm like, what do you mean you're going to get rid of the Department of Education? What do you mean you're not going to fund these schools? Okay, what are you doing, right? You're talking about the current administration. How can you not value the thing that makes this world, that makes this government, that makes us curiosity, education, wanting to learn? And so I find myself getting caught up. People are saying, "Oh my God, the president's horrible." Then I think, okay, what are you focusing on? So bring your attention to gratitude. Gratitude is my number one. If you can focus on what you're grateful for, you shift your attention. You bring it into that space of alignment. It's
mm.
easy to complain, super easy. But what are you grateful for, right? Where your attention goes, your energy flows. So if your attention is always on what's not working and what's horrible and these people are bad, I'm not saying deny those things, but speak, right? Call those things that aren't as if they were, right? Speak.
Right.
Hey now, speak. What is working? Put
Yeah.
your attention to that. What do you have to be grateful for? That, so community, too many people are isolated. And back in the day, every Sunday when I was a little girl, we'd go and spend time with my family. That's how we did community. But now we're all in our little cliques and isolated. So we've got to build community and begin with gratitude. And then that verse, calling things that aren't as if they were, affirm. Speak, right? Life and death is in the power of the tongue. We have the capacity to speak what we want. But see, it comes all the way back to what we started with. You've got to know how powerful you are, that your voice is worthy.
Yes. Yes. This what you're sharing reminds me of one of the devotionals, like today's Sunday. So it was earlier this week from Ecclesiastes 3:1. There's a time for every
Mhm.
season for every activity under the heavens. And the message was, I'm not behind, I'm becoming.
Yes,
And so
yes, yes.
what it told me was, I am not on the empire's clock. Every season is
I
sacred.
love it. I
Good
love it.
and indifferent, right? And pace is not proof of purpose. And so it may take you a little longer to arrive, where to this truth for yourself and then what you want to share with the world, but also recognizing that that one thing, those two things, those accomplishments, those you wanting to have a family or whatever the thing is, that you allowing yourself the grace to go the journey. And I think that is brave to accept that it's okay that you are on your own clock, your own time. But as long as you continue to find yourself in alignment to the divine, I think you will be all right.
Indeed, I agree. And that and expand God. My daughter spoke today, uh, and she talked about the divine feminine, something that's been removed from most patriarchal religions. But all of us have that. And think about nurturing that time of rest. Everyone wanting a hug from their mom. Hopefully, mostly that place where my daughter texted me. I'm in the emergency room, trying to be panicking. You need mom right now. Where's your insurance card? All those sorts of things. But that capacity to be present,
Yes.
yeah. You you said it's so important. I love you use the word empire because it got me thinking, Star
Yeah.
Wars and all the empire. But yes, even you should have kids by the time you're 30. Or you should be okay. Who made up those rules? Again, that's where courage comes in. Like who decided this?
Yeah. And I appreciate the fact that there are, so many women today who are rebuking the socialized norms of like them having to operate, women having to operate on these continuums of social dynamics that have always been fueled by patriarchy.
Indeed.
Primary
Indeed.
white male patriarchy, if we're gonna call a thing.
Well, that's the truth. I think about me and Gail and you and Omari and this, everyone has to come out. We have to make it. Okay, why? When you love someone, that shows up, and I'm hanging out with this person. I'm fighting with this person. I'm still hanging on. I go with them to their family events. She comes with me to my family events. You and Omari and me and Gail, that in this world that wants to define things by this is how it should be, but this is what's working. This is what's giving me life. This is what's pushing me. This is what's growing me. This is what's evolving me. This is working.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so again, I think I've said this to Gail so many times. We need to have a conversation in this country. We need to shut it down. First of all, we need to talk about sex and sexuality so people
Yeah.
stop getting freaked out about everything.
Mhm.
And we need to talk about two of the things I heard this as a child. You don't talk about religions and politics. Well, now we don't know how to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So let's just shut it down and talk about, my whole big thing is let me get this out on the airwaves. We need to have a parliament. Parliament is multi-representation.
Yes.
But yeah, we need to talk, build our community. I mean, I think about even Omari and I, how we connected. Okay, it's my AME brother, this is my LGBTQ brother. Let's talk, right? That's a community.
Yeah. I want to lean in a little bit because where my spirit is lying is at, the point where I know have experienced and continue to wrestle with and reconcile these notions that I am not part of God's divine. So being queer and black and male in this America, early on in the faith community, I grew up Catholic. I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yes, you were Catholic.
Yeah, yes, born and raised thanks to my mama. My daddy Baptist, but my mom, definitely wanted us to have the Catholic tradition, and we are where we are today. In the church community that I grew up in, we didn't talk about sex. We didn't talk about sexuality. It didn't come up. Strangely enough, it didn't come up a lot. What we had was the archetypes of like, here's Jesus. We had Mary and Joseph. We had our cast of characters that, most people will know. But what I found interesting is like, where was Jesus during puberty? And so I remember when I was going through puberty and I was navigating my, sexuality and like, all right, there are no examples for us to talk about like dating and talk about what it means to come to yourself from all of these different layers of who you are and sexuality and sexual preference or gender preference and gender orientation. Like those things are all naturally part of our human experience, but we didn't see those stories being told. We didn't hear about it. And I felt and still feel at times like a wound that I'm still working through because here we have missing information. If you wanted to really talk about the biblical context and you wanted to give us all of these anecdotes that are very much, I understand, about procreation and understanding building a family and God's great family, but God also created us and God wanted some unicorns out here in the world to shake it up. And I feel unapologetic now in this moment. But I'm curious for you in the journey. I know for me, I experienced a lot of scarring and am still doing work to be in the faith community and be in the spaces where I'm willing to continue to grow my spiritual journey and my spiritual life. But I also understand that I'm still having a reckoning in regards to just how the church, I'll put it, uh,
40 fingers.
yeah, I'm putting it in a box. But you all who are hearing this, you can flow it in how whatever ways
Mhm,
you
mhm.
desire. Well, one of the things I'm curious for, your journey as a minister and someone who a servant leader, but also you, right? And how did you navigate the complexity of here's some of the notions that are part of like the AME faith and knowing that, for some folks who don't know about the African Methodist Episcopal faith, that was, also connected to the United Methodist faith as well. And knowing that they actually had a vote on same-sex marriage and things like that. And it didn't favor the queer folks, the queer trans folks in the community. So I'm just curious, how have you navigated that being part of a faith that may not have been or may not be now affirming and inclusive and welcoming in a way that we would be hopeful for?
So my answer to that is it's about your focus. So I tell people, do you know there's two creation narratives in the Bible? They go, no, there's not. Now,
Mm,
I have an MDiv, so I probably do know what I'm talking about. So I say, no,
okay.
there's not two. There's just Adam and Eve. No, honey, that's creation narrative number two. Creation narrative number one is the 6 days of creations where male and female are made on the same day in the image and likeness of God. So right there, whoever you love, however you use the restroom, whether you wear a wig or not, wear a dress, okay, none of that is involved in this Genesis 1.
Yes.
Male and female made on the same day. And one of my professors said made in the same thing. Most of us see it as two creatures. He said no, it was one creature
Mhm.
that was both male and female, made in the image and likeness of God. So right there, whatever, if there's two creatures or one, that thing, those things were made in the image of likeness of God. Boom. So you can't question my divinity because the first creation narrative says male and female were made in the image and likeness of God. Doesn't say you had how you love, who you love, the way you love. It says when God created, and
Mhm.
what I love about that, people try to get around it. It says, let us make man. And that word really is humankind in our image. This was a communal thing. And so when people try to say, well, you can't, my mother had to struggle with that. And she knew my calling to ministry. Now she knows I'm a minister now. And she's like, but she knows I'm married to a woman, right? The image and likeness of God is in the very first creation narrative. And so that's where I stand. Even in Adam and Eve, male and female were made perfect. He says, man was not good by himself. It's like, yeah, because he needed someone to make his doctor's appointments and go shopping and do all that stuff, right? But I don't get me on that because I will check you.
All right.
Genesis 1:26 through 28 right here. We are all made in the image and likeness of God.
That's a word. That is a
So
word.
yeah. Even I have trans friends and, I live in a red state here. And so I had to tell them secretly, this is how you get your medication. I'm down with that. Because
Mhm. Right. We have to constantly find ourselves as the Rainbow Railroad.
indeed, and sometimes like, why does that even matter? Why you don't know you have no idea what happens to Mr. and Mrs. once they get in their house. You are making a whole bunch of assumptions, right? So you don't know what's happening in that house,
True. That's true.
right? But
It
you're assuming something bad's happening in the house with me and Gail because it's two women living together. No, we do what you do. We on DoorDash like you. And what I said, what does an adult mean? And what does it mean being married? As an adult, it means asking yourself what you're going to eat for dinner. Being married, it means asking your spouse, what are we eating for dinner tonight? That's. That's our world. That's what I told her. What are we having today?
Hey, look, we're having catfish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do some shrimp, and then it'll be over some pasta because I know that Omari loves
Oh, I
pasta.
love pasta too.
So
Guess what?
that's what we do.
Now, while we're going out, I live in a college town, Bloomington, Indiana. The college has graduated, and literally overnight or over a 3-day period, 40,000 people leave this town. Yes.
Okay.
So we get the restaurants and the parking back until August.
Okay. Cool. My last question for
Yes.
you before we get into a little game is what makes you today feel fully alive?
Wow. That's what makes me feel fully alive
Yes.
when I can be myself in a non-safe space, which often I'm not in non-safe spaces, but I was in a part of this committee where they wanted to do equal equity and stuff, but there was no black voice in there. And so here I am, the black voice. And I thought, I'm just going to say whatever I want. So we need to read this book and we da 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 da. And I felt like, yeah, there's one lady, I thought her head was going to fly off, but she was like, no, I tried to, you know, I think what really makes me feel alive is when I'm able to be myself in any space.
Okay. That's beautiful. Well, let's play a little game
All right.
called Brave or Nah. And so it's just a fun game to ask some questions, rapid fire style, that you could just say, hey, yep, I would bravely take that on, or nope, Craig, nah, I'm all set.
All right. All right.
I asked you one earlier today. Would you ever find yourself on a reality show? And if so, what reality show would you be
I would love to be on a reality show about women ministers, but from different denominations
on? Okay. All right.
and our style. Like this is how you put your sermon. I'd also love to be on a reality show about cooking. I love to cook. So to have someone sort of helping me. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna continue with this. So would you actually be a reality star on Real Ministers of the Midwest
Yeah.
or the Top Chef series? Which one would you be on?
I go with real ministers of the Midwest.
Okay. Nice.
Because those
Nice.
top chef people, that's too much. I'm like, listen, pasta.
Okay. Would you ever eat something that you could not pronounce the name of?
You don't mean like, well, I do have a pretty adventurous palate. So
Okay.
not counting the ingredients on like Cheetos that are all these weird things that I can't pronounce. I'm not trying to eat those things, but like if I was at a French restaurant and they said try da, 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 I thought, well, everyone else eating is here. They haven't died yet, so let's go.
Okay. Would
But
you
I will not eat liver and onions
Okay. Is there a reason why?
because I don't like it. My mom was like, "You need this iron for your blood." I said, "I don't like it." She says, "Well, when you're 18, you cannot." So okay, so how old am I? I think I'm going to be 62. So for 44 years or whatever, I have not chosen liver and onion.
All right. I am with you. My dad, I tried that for many years and it has never in my life been something that even as I got older, my palate is a little bit more expansive that I'm like, oh, no, I'm all right. I'll pass on.
So if there's a liver shortage, don't come looking at me.
My final question for you is would you do a blind travel with Gail to a place that she has determined without knowing where you're going?
Yes, if Gail's determined that yes,
Okay. All right. So if Gail plans it, you trust that wherever Gail has, like you just get in the car, you get there, you finally see your ticket, and it says this is the place. You're like, great, we're going.
I'm good. Yes.
Okay. What would be one of the places you would hope that Gail takes you?
So my first response was any city that has a Papa Do's restaurant in it. So that could be Texas, Atlanta. I would love to go to Sedona. I don't know if you've been there. Oh my God, it is so beautiful. So peaceful. Such good
Yeah.
energy.
Yes, my godmother she is really contemplating going there. She talked about the fact that there's a resort or just this space is so profound. And so I'm, contemplating that as an opportunity.
Yeah, so don't go in the summer because it's in the desert. So it's very
Mhm.
hot. But oh, Sedona, you could not go wrong going there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, before we close out, I would love to, ask you, how can folks stay connected to you, learn more about Minnassa Wellness, or bring your work to their organization?
Well, thank you. So you can simplemanasa.com is where you can find me, and Minnassa Gabon, Minnassa on Instagram, and I have TikTok, but I don't do, I'm not a millennial, so I don't do much on there, but
Okay.
Instagram, and then I'm the minister of Unity of Bloomington, and you can find me there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that's it for this episode of Brave Voices in Education. Thank you so much, Minnassa Gabon. I really appreciate you being a guest today with me.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. So if this conversation, family, has challenged you or affirmed you, send this to your village. And if you're building brave leadership, or have found something today that has helped to put that battery in your back to keep you going, or you have heard a brave wellness practice today, we want to hear about that in the comments. And we also are looking for more folks who are willing to share their brave journey with us on the Brave Voices pod. So until next time, we want you to lead loud, lead whole, and lead brave. You take care.